the world race.
We're going to get through about 300,000 cardboard boxes this Christmas, but where do they all come from and, well, where do they go to? Well, I'm at Europe's largest manufacturer and recycler of boxes in Milton Keynes this morning to find out.
Good morning. The fresh row over Premier League tackling as it's confirmed that Liverpool defender Joe Gomez has broken his leg.
Good morning from the gorgeous surroundings of Lincoln Cathedral. Well, I'll have news on severe gales today across parts of Scotland and western half of the UK, turning colder as well this weekend. Plus, did you make one of these as a child? We'll be talking about their significance all this morning here on Breakfast.
Good morning, it's Friday the 7th of December. Our top story today, at the end of one of the most turbulent weeks of her leadership, Theresa May has sent out 30 of her senior ministers to schools, hospitals and businesses across the UK to gather last-minute support for her Brexit deal.
The Prime Minister has just a few days left to convince reluctant MPs to back her withdrawal agreement before the vote on Tuesday. Our political correspondent Jonathan Blake is in Westminster for us this morning. Stepped outside, Jonathan. Are you feeling the tension? We're more than halfway now of these 5 days of debates running up to Tuesday's vote.
You can feel the tension in the air at Westminster, Naga, but today certainly most of the government won't be here. They'll be out and about across the UK, as you say. Theresa May has dispatched 30 or so of her ministers to various parts of the country to sell her Brexit deal directly to the people. So the Chancellor will be at a school in Chertsey, the Scottish Secretary David Mundell meeting business leaders in Glasgow, the Chief Secretary to the Treasury Liz Truss popping to a local butcher's in Norfolk. And the idea behind this is, as we saw the Prime Minister doing last week, is to go direct to the people and say, look, this is the Brexit deal the government has reached. And as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, the message she has said that she's getting back is that we are on board and we want the government to get on with it. The trouble, though, for the Prime Minister is that it's really the MPs here at Westminster she needs to convince, because many of them still are opposed to her deal, and we've heard that in the days of debate so far this week leading up to that big vote on Tuesday, that many, particularly Conservative MPs, remain to be convinced that Theresa May's deal is the right one.
And this is it, isn't it, Jonathan, that even though the Tories are out and about today selling the deal, why is it they're selling the deal to people that matters when actually it's the MPs that are going to be voting on Tuesday?
Well, I think the hope is that MPs will see that the public, for the most part, want the government to get on with Brexit. Certainly that's what the Prime Minister is saying, and they might think that if their constituents are putting pressure on them to vote for the deal, they might be persuaded. But there's little sign that many MPs have changed their mind in the last few days, so it seems as though the Prime Minister is still heading for defeat. Last night we heard the Prime Minister talking about the potential of Parliament having more of a role if the controversial backstop comes into play to avoid a hard border in Northern Ireland if a trade deal can't be done. It doesn't seem that a plan to potentially give Parliament more of a say there is convincing anyone.
Jonathan, thanks very much. Jonathan Blake there for us.
The mobile network O2 has said its data services have been restored.
The company said a review will be carried out to discover why 32 million UK customers were unable to get online yesterday. Our correspondent John Donison has more.
For many these days, life without a fully functioning smartphone is almost unimaginable. The cameras might have been working at this Christmas market in Manchester, but for 32 million O2 customers, not much else was.
You've not been able to use like Facebook. I don't think we can send messages either on iMessage.
Train times to get us home.
Yeah. So, just not good, basically.
In London, bus arrival screens, which work off the O2 network, were also out of action. A first world problem, you might say, but also very much one of our time.
It's a digital catastrophe of the 21st century. We are out of internet, out of services, out of our loved ones nearby, out of capacity of payment.
The O2 network, owned by Telefonica, said the problem was a global one and down to equipment supplied by the telecoms firm Ericsson.
We know it's a software issue. It's impacted an Ericsson component, which has impacted networks across the globe, in Japan, in China, and of course here in the UK.
O2 says services should be back to normal this morning and that it will be carrying out a review with Ericsson. The question is now being raised as to whether customers might be able to claim compensation. John Donnison, BBC News.
Lots of you being in touch, getting in touch as well about your O2 problems. We'll get to some of those a little later on and talk about it too.
The father of a British tourist who's gone missing in New Zealand has made an emotional appeal for help in finding his outgoing, fun-loving daughter. Grace Mullane, who turned 22 on Sunday, has not been in contact with her family since the 1st of December. Concerns are growing for her welfare. In a press conference in Auckland, David Mullane urged anyone who may have seen her to get in touch.
Grace is a lovely, outgoing, fun-loving, family-orientated daughter. Grace has never been out of contact for this amount of time. She's usually in daily contact with either her mother, myself, her two brothers, members of the family on social media.
The number of cash machine robberies in the UK has nearly doubled in the last 4 years. This is according to one of the biggest ATM operators.
Cardtronic says there were more than 720 attempts to steal cash last year. Less than half were successful. Our personal finance correspondent Simon Gompertz has more.
Two thieves, their faces covered, getting ready to blow up a cash machine using gas. This is the explosion from the inside. The number of raids has been accelerating. There were 400 attacks in 2014. By last year, the annual total was 722, nearly double. In almost half the cases, thieves don't get the cash, but that doesn't stop them trying. In this raid, in a Cotswolds village, a stolen digger was used to smash the local bank's machine. Tougher policing in cities has pushed the ram raiding gangs into the country. Last month, another machine ripped out in South Lanarkshire. The smaller the neighbourhood, the more serious the impact.
ATM crime is not a victimless crime. It's an attack on the local community. It means that people can't get money out of a cash machine. Often you'll find the shop is damaged, which damages that business as well.
There's been a spate of cash machines being blown up using gas and more ram raids. Cardtronic says the UK has more attacks than anywhere else in Europe. It wants harsher sentences and better surveillance. Simon Gompertz, BBC News.
Oxford and Cambridge universities accept more students from just 8 private schools than from almost 3,000 English state schools put together. That's according to research by social mobility charity the Sutton Trust. They say more needs to be done to attract students from a wide range of backgrounds. Oxford University said it's aware it must work harder. Cambridge said more support should be made available to pupils before they choose their A-level subjects.
A rescue mission is underway to reach a British sailor whose boat has been destroyed after a storm during a solo round-the-world yacht challenge.
29-year-old Susie Goodall is the only woman taking part in the Golden Globe race. Her location in the Pacific is so remote, the nearest vessel is not expected to reach her until tonight. John Kay has more.
The boat is destroyed. Inside and out is destroyed.
This is the call Susie Goodall made after her boat flipped over. In the southern Pacific Ocean, alone, injured and thousands of miles from dry land.
We rolled and I threw across the cabin and I think I was knocked out for a moment or two.
The 29-year-old set sail in July and was coming fourth in one of the world's most gruelling events when she hit a ferocious storm. Speaking before the race, she knew the Southern Ocean would be the toughest part of her round-the-world challenge.
I'm sure there'll be times down there where I just think, what the hell am I doing? This is horrendous. The boat is just like a rag doll. It's been chucked around all over the place and you can do nothing about it.
This Chinese cargo ship is the closest vessel to Susie. It's been diverted hundreds of miles through challenging seas to rescue her.
We're unsure whether they'll be able to launch a small boat to go and recover her and come back and bring it on board again because of the sea state. If that's not possible, the captain's going to have to manoeuvre a 190-metre vessel, which is about 45,000 tonnes, as close as he can to the yacht, and Susie will literally have to jump.
On social media, she said all she wants is a nice cup of tea. John Kay, BBC News.
The body of the former US President George Bush Sr. has been laid to rest at his presidential library in College Station, Texas. After days of public tributes, including a state funeral in Washington, the casket travelled on a special train, slowing down through a number of towns along its 70-mile trip. He was buried in a private ceremony beside his wife Barbara and daughter Robin.
The international charity Doctors Without Borders says it's been forced to end migrant rescue operations in the Mediterranean carried out by its ship, the Aquarius. The organisation blamed the decision on what it called a sustained campaign of slander and obstruction by European governments. The Aquarius had been the last charity rescue ship still operating.
A 7-year-old boy from Afghanistan who became famous online for his devotion to footballer Lionel Messi has been forced to flee his home for the second time. Murtaza Ahmadi went viral in 2016 after being photographed wearing a homemade Messi shirt fashioned out of a plastic bag. His family say they've abandoned their home after receiving threats from the Taliban. They've escaped the capital, Kabul.
The lead singer of the punk rock band Buzzcocks, Pete Shelley, has died at the age of 63. It's thought he suffered a heart attack in Estonia where he was living. The band, which formed in the 1970s, is best known for the hit, as you just heard it, Ever Fallen in Love.
So musicians and fans have been paying tribute to him online this morning. Let's give you a flavour of some of those thoughts. Tweet on the official Twitter page for the group described him as one of the UK's most influential and prolific songwriters.
The charlatan singer Tim Burgess said his perfect 3-minute pop songs were the soundtrack to being a teenager. And Peter Hook, co-founder of Joy Division and New Order, described him as a true gent, adding that he wouldn't be here today, where he is today, if it wasn't for him.
It is true, if you listen to some of those songs, and we just heard a little bit there was such an energy. Yeah. And they were short when they were classic, they were punk songs, but they were pop songs as well. And yeah, we'll hear some more of that.
Short and impactful.
Absolutely.
13 minutes past 7 is the time. Matt's going to bring us up to date with the weather shortly. He's at Lincoln Cathedral, I think, this morning. But there's an issue that's been affecting loads of people in the UK, millions in fact, 32 million customers for O2. Perhaps most will be breathing a sigh of relief this morning. Data services are returning to normal. There was 24 hours of disruption.
Yes, lots of people unable to access the internet yesterday. Some couldn't make calls as well. Companies said software problems were to blame. We're joined now by Professor Nigel Linge, who's an expert in telecommunications. Professor, you said to us a moment ago, you're our go-to guy when things go wrong.
That's right. When anything goes wrong, you ask me to come in.
With technical stuff. Do we know what went wrong?
We know a little bit of information, but I have no inside track in O2, so I know nothing definite.
So give us the layman's version of what you think happened.
So, the mobile phone network, I think we're all familiar with the visible part of that network, which are the radio masts we see by the side of streets and on tops of roofs. They're all connected together to create what we call a national network. So that would be the national O2 network. But that has to be connected to the rest of the world. So that has to be connected to the international telephone network and the internet. So there's a point on the O2 network where it connects to the internet. That point of connection is what failed. So although the O2 network itself was working, nobody could get off it onto the internet. So it's a bit like at home, where you've got broadband and you refer to your broadband router in your home. That's the gateway from your house to the internet.
Yeah.
Imagine that failed. That's what's happened to O2.
And that wasn't O2. I don't want to say fault or blame,
no.
But the company which ran that part is Ericsson.
Correct.
Which is a huge microelectronics
that equipment
company.
Is Ericsson equipment, a global provider of telecommunications equipment the world over, and this problem hasn't just been limited to O2. It is a general international problem. Big problems in Japan, for example, as well.
So forgive my ignorance on these things, but when you say that so you can sort of identify where the problem happened, but is it literally where it happened? Is there a place? Is there a room somewhere with something that isn't working?
Yes, so this interconnect is essentially a computer, and a computer runs on software. And the problem has been the software. Now, you don't just have one of these, of course. Networks are designed for fault tolerance. They are designed to cope with failure. So you have several of these things. If one fails, you've got a backup.
And they're geographically located
geographically distributed places. And so on. However, and this is the crunch problem, if those are all provided by Ericsson, and Ericsson is the problem, you lose the primary and the backup at the same time. And it seems to be a software fault. Now, all software comes with what are called certificates, and a certificate is basically a validation that that software is safe to run. That certificate seemingly expired. So the software on this interconnect...
Something literally was past its sell-by date.
Well, you could put it that way, yes.
What makes you say that?
That was a statement on the Ericsson website. It said it was a certificate problem with their software.
So effectively, they just hadn't renewed it? Or...
Well, it's more complicated than that in the sense that what caused this to happen. But essentially, the software decided it was no longer valid and able to run. That then stopped the service. No O2 customer could get through the O2 network and off it onto the internet. They could still make phone calls, although there were problems with people making phone calls because inevitably a lot more people were doing that.
Yeah, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, go on.
Well, I was just going to ask about one or two. We were getting one or two comments from people this morning saying there are issues with texting that maybe they're sending and not receiving. Is that? I think that's the gist of it.
They're sending them, and you're not getting that tick.
Certainly,
or that
iMessages, of course, go off the mobile phone network, so that would have been affected. So
that's specific to an iPhone, though, isn't it?
Or equivalent instant message. Any instant messaging service would be that problem.
Okay.
So it hasn't just affected people trying to get on social media and email and things like that. It's also affected sat-navs because the map on your phone comes through the internet connection. It's also affected paying systems, ticketing.
But what people are getting in touch with us today are saying that the texts are the problem today. So
that's an interesting one because, in a sense, the text should be staying. Well, I suppose a text that's gone off the network to another person who's not on O2, that would be a different matter. But I would have thought O2 to O2 would have been.
Will be okay. Actually, that'd be quite interesting. But yeah, lots of people have been in touch because I suggested earlier I just restarted my phone yesterday and it did help it. And some people it has, some people it hasn't.
That wouldn't have fixed the problem until O2 had sorted the problem out.
No, but the phones go
They do need to be reached.
On a thought on how you describe the initial problem. When you describe it like that, I'm kind of surprised. Have we had a problem like this of this scale before?
Not of this scale that I'm aware of. It does bring home the problem of network resilience and our reliance on this technology. The regulator, Ofcom, produce a report every August. It's a fantastic report that looks at our behaviour and our patterns of behaviour with this technology. And for years they've been saying the UK is a smartphone society. We expect an internet connection 24/7. Now, what we have to remember here, the only connection that failed was that which went over the O2 network. If you could have got your phone connected to a Wi-Fi service, so Wi-Fi in your house, at work, or in a public place like a coffee shop, that would have routed to the internet via a completely different direction than going through O2. And that, of course, was working. But that's only partial solution, because where you haven't got Wi-Fi and you are totally dependent on the mobile phone, you were offline.
Professor Lynch, lovely to see you here this morning, and thank you for your very straightforward explanation.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Thank you. We're all wiser for that, aren't
we? Definitely.
Thank you.
We need to find out what's happening with the weather this week. I think we've had a few blustery bits, lots of rain as well, and it had got colder at some point. Matt is at Lincoln Cathedral for us. Beautiful surroundings there, Matt. Morning.
Yes, absolutely stunning, Naga. Yeah, very good morning to you. We are in Lincoln Cathedral. This is the St Hugh's Choir. It's the best location for sound, according to the people here, and hence it's where the choir sits as well. Now, this cathedral has close to 1,000 years of history. It was built in 1072, and for 400 years it's actually the tallest building in Europe. But today, still looking amazingly stunning. And the reason we're here is that today is marked 50 years since Christingle service, first Christingle service in the UK. Christingle, of course, you might remember as a child if you made one of these. It was a tradition, a Moravian tradition in Germany, brought to the UK by the Children's Society. And this evening here at Lincoln Cathedral, they're having the service to mark 50 years since we've done it here in the UK too. Now, Naga mentioned the weather outside because it has been pretty lively of late, and some very lively weather to come this weekend. Let's look at the details. Certainly today we could have some pretty disruptive weather from the strength of the winds. We could see severe gales across parts of Scotland and the western half of the UK, and for some in western Scotland, 70-80 mile-an-hour gusts possible. Already seen around 75 mile-an-hour gusts in the past hour in parts of the Hebrides. So it's an area of low pressure pushing into the northwest of the country, which is bringing the strongest of the winds. That cold front sweeping across the England and Wales at the moment is what brought heavy rain through the night. Lots of surface water and spray on the roads this morning, so take it easy if you're about to head on out in the car. Rain through this morning rush hour across southern and eastern parts of England in particular. That will gradually clear by mid-morning. Sunshine and then showers through the rest of the day. Showers in the west, heavy and thundery. Longer spells of rain in Scotland though for some, with blizzards over the hills as those winds continue to strengthen. Across the board, a very windy afternoon, and temperatures peaking this morning around 13-14 degrees, dropping back to between around 8 and 12 Celsius by the end of the day. Stays windy through tonight. Northern Ireland and northwest England could see some of the strongest of the winds. Here the showers most frequent, some longer spells of rain too. Elsewhere, clear skies around between just 1 or 2 showers, and all the fact that we've got that strong wind continuing through the night means temperatures shouldn't drop away too much. But a blustery start to the weekend away from northern Scotland, where the winds will gradually ease down through the day. Bright enough start for many. There'll be showers around across some western areas first thing. Showers develop more widely through the day. Bit of sunshine in between, particularly top and tail of the country, but it will feel cooler. Temperatures across the northern half of the UK, single figures, maybe 10 to 12 Celsius in the far south. Windiest through Saturday night across parts of Wales, southwest England. 60 mile-an-hour gusts possible here, maybe a little bit more, but those winds ease down into Sunday. The winds go northerly. It's going to feel much, much cooler. But whilst we will see a few showers around the coast, we'll see plenty of sunshine too. One thing I will mention though, Sunday, especially down eastern coast around the North Sea, with the winds pretty strong and high tides at the moment, there could be some coastal flooding as well. So plenty going on over the next few days, fairly lively as far as the weather's concerned, but today severe gales across Scotland and the western half of the country. Back to Naga and Charlie.
Thanks very much, Matt.
Time now is 7:23. Why become a teacher? It might be to expand young minds, which will shape the future. Sounds almost idealistic when you say it like that, but that's sometimes what people are thinking. It's a job that should bring a real sense of satisfaction, but increasingly, time pressures, piles of paperwork, limited budgets, putting people off.
In fact, new figures show that recruitment targets for secondary schools have been missed for the 6th year in a row. Jane McCubbin has been following a newly qualified teacher who just began work in September to see how she's getting on.
It's the start of a new day and a new career at Stretford High.
Sit down! I was Detective Constable Smallwood of Greater Manchester Police in the Child Protection Unit, and now I'm Mrs Smallwood, science teacher. They do like to ask various different questions, whether I've been shot, whether I've shot anybody. Sit down, everybody!
Who is it easier to manage, children or criminals?
Criminals. Definitely.
In fact, she says children are the easy part of this job. It's the red tape and financial constraints which are the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I mean, the budget cuts to the schools are immense, and I'm very fortunate that I do have a TA in quite a lot of my lessons.
So what's the next step? What did Miss Tibbs have to do then?
The teaching assistants, if they are starting to be removed from certain schools, they will be having a detrimental effect and could very well be leading to other teachers leaving. What sort of percentages are...
And teachers are leaving at a greater rate than those joining. The government has missed recruitment targets for the 6th year running. The last snapshot taken showed 22% of new teachers were not teaching after 2 years, a third by the 5th year, 40% were gone by year 10. Though many later returned, heads and unions say this is a national crisis.
We have more teachers leaving, so therefore there's a bigger gap. We have more pupils in the system, so we have an even bigger gap. And then a lot of new teachers who are coming in and want to do a really, really good job, but because the gap is so significant, the workload becomes too much.
So how did your Year 8 lesson go?
At break time, a catch-up with her mentor. Adam is in Year 5 of his new career and feeling the pressure.
We've had massive changes in the GCSE the last year.
Stressful.
So, very stressful, and funding's a massive problem.
Can you see yourself getting to the 10-year mark, or will you be one of the 40% that decide to bow out?
I'd hope I wouldn't be one of the 40%. I hope that things don't get to that point.
The Department for Education told us they have taken steps to improve teachers' work-life balance and pay, and while there is more money going into education than ever before, they recognise the challenges schools face.
Okay, you're right, off you go!
Education has been protected from cuts more than other sectors, but schools have still faced a cut.
Have a good weekend!
The police were going through exactly the same thing. Their budgets were getting slashed, and it was really noticeable. And I just hope that it doesn't go the same way, because these are our children's lives in the future, and they need to be able to excel.
After an hour of prep for tomorrow, today draws to a close. Teach First, which recruited and trained Mrs Smallwood, say there are 300,000 teachers in the UK who aren't currently teaching. Schemes like this hope to entice some of them back to join brand new recruits, hopefully for good.
It's a steep learning curve, but it has been really, really good. I can see it being my future. Yeah.
Oh, it's a positive note to end on, isn't it?
Good luck, definitely. It's 27 minutes past 7. It's time to get the news, travel and weather where you are this morning. We'll see you shortly.
Good morning from BBC London News. I'm Victoria Hollins. A 28-year-old is suing the Met Police after his name and address appeared on a leaked gangs list. Lawyers for the man, whose name was included on the document in Newham, claim he's been left fearing for his safety after a relative got hold of the information and sent it to him. The Information Commissioner's Office is carrying out an investigation into Newham Council over the alleged breach. Thames Water has reported a large fall in half-year profits and says extreme weather has hindered its ability to fix leaks and overhaul its infrastructure. The company said the cold winter earlier this year had caused pipes to burst, while the summer heatwave had brought supply problems. Pre-tax profits fell by nearly half to £67 million. Well, it's that time of year again. Panto season is well underway, and many of us may be looking forward to seeing a show during our time off. But for the actors involved, who only get Christmas Day off, the festive season is just another working week. Robinson Crusoe is the pantomime setting sail at the Greenwich Theatre this year.
Really, Christmas Day is our day off. That's it. So we have because we have 2 shows on Christmas Eve and 2 on Boxing Day. So. And then the same over New Year, so New Year's Day is our only day off. So it's a real, and we do, in those weeks, we do 12 shows a week.
12 shows a week?
Yeah, so 2 a day, 6 days a week. So it's an old slog.
Yes,
yeah.
I bet it is.
Yeah. It's great fun though.
Hard work. Right, let's get a check on the travel situation. And on the Tube, the Circle line has severe delays. There are minor delays on the Hammersmith and City line. It's both because of signal problems at Baker Street. There are minor delays also on London Overground. Turning to the roads then, it's pretty slow on the A1 Barnet bypass southbound. That's approaching Stirling Corner. In Tottenham, White Hart Lane is closed in both directions between Creighton Road and the High Road. That's because of a collision. And that takes us to the weather with Mel Coles.
Good morning. It's a soggy start to the day. We've got some heavy rain around at the moment, but that will gradually clear, so the skies will start to brighten up, but it will be a blustery day. Now, at the moment, temperatures are in double figures underneath all this cloud and with the rain. There are going to be some heavy bursts in here before it clears out towards the east later this morning to leave brighter skies. It will remain windy throughout the day, and there may be 1 or 2 showers this afternoon, and those temperatures dipping as we head through the day, so a maximum of around 9 Celsius this afternoon. Heading into this evening, well, it's a very similar regime. We keep those winds gusting at around 30 to 35 miles an hour, some dry clear spells, but also 1 or 2 blustery showers in the mix too, and temperatures dipping down to lows of around 5 Celsius. So we're in for a fairly windy weekend, particularly later on Saturday and into Sunday. Through Saturday, some of the showers could merge together to form longer spells of rain. Sunday will start off with a few showers, but it looks as though it will be an improving picture.
Right, I'm back with the latest from the BBC London newsroom in half an hour. There's plenty more on our website at the usual address, bbc.co.uk/London, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Hello, you're watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetti.
Time now is 7:30. Here's a summary of the main stories from BBC News. At the end of one of the most turbulent weeks of her leadership, Theresa May has sent out 30 of her senior ministers to schools, hospitals and businesses across the UK to get last-minute support for her Brexit deal.
The Prime Minister has just a few days left to convince reluctant MPs to back her withdrawal agreement before a vote in the Commons on Tuesday.
The mobile network O2 has said all of its data services have been restored. The company blamed a software problem and said a review will be carried out to discover why 32 million UK customers were unable to get online yesterday.
The father of a British tourist who has gone missing in New Zealand has made an emotional appeal for help to find his outgoing, fun-loving daughter. Grace Millane, who turned 22 on Sunday, has not been in contact with her family since the 1st of December, and concerns are growing for her welfare. In a press conference in Auckland, David Millane urged anyone who may have seen her to get in touch.
Oxford and Cambridge universities accept more students from just 8 private schools than from almost 3,000 English state schools put together. That's according to research by social mobility charity, the Sutton Trust. They say more needs to be done to attract students from a wide range of backgrounds. Oxford University says it's aware it must work harder. Cambridge said more support should be made available to pupils before they choose their A-level subjects.
A rescue mission is underway to reach a British sailor whose boat was destroyed in a storm during a solo round-the-world yacht challenge. 29-year-old Susie Goodall is the only woman taking part in the Golden Globe race, and her location in the Pacific is now so remote, the nearest vessel can't reach her until tonight.
Yes, worth saying as well, we'll catch up with the latest on that search in about half an hour's time, because there's a lot of concern over her welfare, so we'll find out more about that shortly.
The number of cash machine robberies in the UK has nearly doubled in the last 4 years, according to one of the biggest ATM operators. Cardtronics says that there were more than 720 attempts to steal cash last year. Less than half were successful. The company says, though, the thefts are highly dangerous and often involve ram raids or gas explosions.
A BBC investigation has found that academics from ethnic minority backgrounds are being paid up to a quarter less than their white colleagues at some of the UK's top universities. Research into pay at Russell Group universities also found the salary gap nearly doubles for women from black and ethnic minority backgrounds. The association said it was unable to comment on recruitment practices.
If you are, for instance, a woman of colour, not only do you experience an ethnic penalty within the labour market, you also experience a gender penalty. So they're even more disadvantaged than women.
The body of the former US President George Bush Sr. has been laid to rest at his presidential library in College Station, Texas. After days of public tributes, including a state funeral in Washington, the casket travelled on a special train, slowing down through a number of towns along its 70-mile trip. He was buried in a private ceremony beside his wife Barbara and daughter Robin.
The international charity Doctors Without Borders says it's been forced to end migrant rescue operations in the Mediterranean carried out by its ship, the Aquarius. The organisation blamed the decision on what it called a sustained campaign of slander and obstruction by European governments. The Aquarius had been the last charity rescue ship still operating.
A 7-year-old boy from Afghanistan who became famous online for his devotion to the footballer Lionel Messi has been forced to flee his home for a second time. Murtaza Ahmadi, the video of him went viral in 2016. This is him being photographed wearing a homemade Messi shirt fashioned out of a plastic bag. And then you actually saw that Lionel Messi got a shirt sent to him as well. But his family now says it's had to abandon the home after receiving threats from the Taliban. The family's escaped the capital, Kabul.
The lead singer of the punk rock band The Buzzcocks, Pete Shelley, has died at the age of 63.
It's thought he suffered a heart attack in Estonia where he was living. The band, which formed in the 70s, best known for the hit, as you've just heard it, Ever Fallen in Love. The groups described him as one of the UK's most influential and prolific songwriters.
The American comedian and actor Kevin Hart says he stepped down from hosting the 2019 Oscars following controversy over homophobic tweets from 10 years ago. The 39-year-old said he didn't want to be a distraction. He said he was sorry he'd hurt people. It was only announced that he'd present the award on Tuesday.
25 minutes to 8 is the time. Matt's going to be with us shortly. He's in Lincoln Cathedral and celebrating 50 years of a Christingle service. And we've
got one here that we prepared earlier.
You did this, didn't you? Your handiwork. Yeah, you did
That's
well
not
there.
true,
What do you
Holly.
think,
I don't believe
Holly?
a word of it, I'll be honest
No,
with you.
I wouldn't believe
Who
that.
did make it?
One of the producers made it.
Oh, it's very beautiful.
And but made sure it's really accurate with a little bit of foil in the top as well.
Attention to detail.
Because you used to do these when you were younger.
I did, yeah, that is literally my childhood right there. When you whipped that out this morning, it was sort of just memories of school. And we were saying earlier, I don't think we fully understood why, but it was great fun to make.
All things are represented there.
Yeah,
Matt will give us a lesson.
World.
Matt will give us a lesson. It's time to be nice to people, not
It
break
is.
people's legs when you're playing football.
Well, let's not say anyone broke anyone's leg, but Joe Gomez certainly has got a broken leg. And this was after Burnley-Liverpool's game on Wednesday. There was a tackle from Ben Mee. Joe Gomez fell quite awkwardly. He's on the back pages today in crutches. So it's kind of raised this issue again of tackling. We know football it's such a physical game, but when you do end up with a broken leg, should it be discussed further? Well, Liverpool did confirm this news that Gomez broke his leg. He'll be out for up to 6 weeks. It happened in their win over Burnley on Wednesday night, with Burnley boss defending his player, saying it was a fantastic tackle, but Jurgen Klopp wasn't happy with any of the challenges, comparing it to 10-pin bowling.
I really think the ref should have said earlier something. So I told Mr. Dean that if you don't say, be careful, I do it until something happens, and exactly that happens. You say no foul, I don't know if it's a foul or not, but it was a challenge. You can, on wet grass, you cannot judge the tempo, nothing. You put him away, and the injury threat is massive.
And staying with football, Manchester United's Marouane Fellaini won't be punished for pulling the hair of Arsenal's Matteo Guendouzi. And it happened in their 2-2 draw at Old Trafford. Loads of Arsenal fans furious with Fellaini, but the FA won't take further action because the referee saw it and awarded a free kick. Well, the Arsenal boss, Unai Emery, says there's a simple way to make sure it doesn't happen again.
I think the best is for the next match, cut the air for for Matteo, and this problem is finishing. Like as a Fellaini.
But you need to explain that, because Fellaini used to have this fabulous
huge mane of
mop
hair. It's still fabulous. It still looks incredible.
Well, it's very short.
Yes, it's
now.
certainly had a little bit of a trim, shall we say.
Massive.
Well, we're going to send them all to get haircuts to stop the hair pulling. Shouldn't really need to, should we? Now, Ben Stokes and Alex Hales should find out today if they'll face any further punishments after that fight outside a nightclub in Bristol last year. Stokes was, of course, found not guilty of affray in court earlier this year, but has spent the last couple of because he admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs. Now, that meant he's had to pay more than £90 million in settlements and legal fees, but he says he's made tens of millions of pounds from a relatively small investment he made in Uber when the company was just starting out. There's been a couple of surprise exits at the UK Snooker Championship in York. Former champion Judd Trump has been knocked out. The world number 5 came in as one of the favourites, but was beaten by Joe Perry, who will now play Tom Ford in the quarterfinals later. And over on the other table, 2-time champion Ding Junhui was beaten by Martin O'Donnell, and he'll now face defending champion Ronnie O'Sullivan in the last 8. Now, some good news. 14 sports have been given a chunk of money to help them compete at the next Olympic and Paralympic Games. They're all benefiting from UK Sports Aspiration Fund ahead of Tokyo 2020. And our sports correspondent Natalie Perks has gone to check out one of them this morning. Natalie, I think your location there might be a little bit of a clue, is it?
Not a little clue, Holly, quite a big clue behind me. We're at a skate park, and of course skateboarding is one of the brand new sports for Tokyo 2020, and they're one of the recipients of a little pot of money. 13 other sports have joined them, sports like wheelchair rugby, which got £500,000 today, so they're celebrating, and sports like badminton and archery, who lost funding, don't forget, after Rio. So this is a little pot of money. We're not talking millions here, but we are talking hundreds of thousands for sports who probably aren't going to bother the medal table so much in Tokyo, but they need this money, much needed, to help them qualify to even get there in the first place. I am joined by Alex Takuna, who's a skateboarder, and Lucy Campbell, who's a surfer. And guys, thanks for joining us this morning. Just tell us a little bit about what this money will actually mean to you in real terms.
I mean, it's anyone's guess really, but the money in the UK will change skateboarding in a huge way. Just for the skateboarders, for facilities, just in a lot of different ways, to be honest. I mean, for the skaters, it means we can travel to places on a rainy day, come to places like this, not have to worry about the rain outside and just think, oh, I can't skate today. It means you can go somewhere and actually practice our tricks or whatever. Even facilities like improve what they have.
And I think people sort of watch the Olympics and we love watching it, and we know lottery funding has changed so much for athletes, but for some guys you'll still have to work, you still have to find a way of getting to these far-flung places around the globe. What will it mean for you in terms of travelling?
I mean, it'll help endlessly that we can, travel to more consistent waves and keep training, and also even like getting to the events early, getting to the like qualifying events early, so that we can keep training and know the areas we're going to be surfing and like the contest breaks and things. So yeah, it's a big help.
In the past, Britain haven't sent up to some of the big events simply because, what, money, difficulty of getting there?
Yeah, I guess for a lot of the surfers in the UK, it also means time off work, time off their jobs, as well as them finding the funding to get to the events. So yeah, for some of the events we haven't been able to unfortunately send a team, but now we will be able to.
What do you think being in the Olympics is going to mean for your sports?
I mean, it's a hard one to tell, because it's the first time skateboarding's been in the Olympics, so in a way no one really knows what to make of it. Some people are all for it, some people are a little bit against it, but I think it'll be great. Just interesting to see how it will come out.
Why are they against it? Because skateboarding's a bit too cool?
Yeah, skateboarding's too cool for people. Can't have people taking that away from us, apparently.
But it is going to be a big difference, isn't it? Especially in terms of the way you're judged, in terms of the way the sport is seen. Do you think it can have a real inspirational impact?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sports like surfing and skating aren't maybe so well known in the UK, and so to have sort of the eyes on it, hopefully it'll inspire people to grab a board, get to the beach and have a go and style and stuff. So it's so much fun that I think it'll be great.
I suppose if you live near the coast like you do, it's a bit easier, but skateboarding can be done pretty much anywhere, as long as you've got a couple of rails and some stairs.
Literally anywhere you like.
And fearlessness.
Of course.
So you are doing street skateboarding. There's going to be two different types of skateboarding in the Olympics, street and park. Just tell us quickly what the difference is.
So street skateboarding in contest terms would be like stuff like what you see behind you. So we've got some ledges, got some rails, got maybe gaps and kind of that stuff. The tricks people do would be more like flippy kind of tricks with a bezel or this kind of rubbish. And like park skating is like, it's on the other side of that, so it's called like, the bigger half pipes, all that kind of stuff, like bowls. People still flip their boards and do some crazy stuff. It's just very different skateboarding in a way.
And Lucy, just very quickly, this isn't a lot of money, but it's going to make a difference to you, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anything will help, and if it means that we can get to all of the events and get some coaching and training and things in as well, it's going to help.
Thank you guys for joining us. Obviously, big year next year. It's when all the qualifying events for all the different sports will begin leading up to Tokyo. This is going to make a big difference to these athletes' lives.
Oh, Natalie Parks, our very own skater girl, thank you very much from Dagenham there for us this morning. It's great news, though. I mean, some of those sports just don't get the recognition sometimes, let alone the funding. So, especially some things like skateboarding and surfing.
All the cool sports, really.
Oh, it is. It does seem to be the very cool sports.
No disrespect to every other sport out there.
All sports are cool, in my opinion,
quite
but
right,
that did look pretty cool this
It relates
morning.
when you're skiing as well. Skiing or snowboarding, it's always the board that kind of...
Oh, right, OK. Here we go. We're going to start a debate this morning.
Cool people.
Skiing versus snowboarding.
Talking of cool people, Matt has got an orange at Lincoln Cathedral for us this morning. Oh, and there's some singing. I do love a cassock.
Yes, thank you very much, Naga. Very good morning to you. What a lovely way to start your Friday morning. The choir there, Lincoln Cathedral Choir. We are in Lincoln Cathedral all morning this morning, and that's because we're marking 50 years of Christingle. 50 years since the Children's Society introduced Christingle to the UK, Moravian tradition, and here to tell us a little bit more about their role in it, we have two special guests here. We have Jane Wilmot. She went to the very first Christingle service back 50 years ago here at Lincoln Cathedral, and we have young Elliot as well. But first of all, Jane, You went to the very first Christingle service in the UK. Do you remember it?
I remember some parts of it. I remember coming to this incredible building and the lights dimming and the Christingles being held, and the light was just amazing. But that is about all. It was a long time ago, and I can't even remember being told that it was the first one, but then I suppose you wouldn't be.
No, very true. And you've been very involved with it ever since. You've brought your own kids, your own grandchildren. What does Christingle mean to you?
It means a lot. The Children's Society are such a worthy cause, and it's one occasion when lots of children actually go to church, experience the actual making of Christingles, and then they're supporting lots of other children who are probably less able to cope than they are.
And of course you'll be bringing your own grandchildren here this year as well, at the special service today.
Not to this one, but to a different one, yes. I've got a 4-year-old grandchild, yes.
Fantastic. And of course we've brought in Elliot with us as well this morning. Now you've been to a few Christingle services before. Tell us, what is it like to make one of these?
It's fun because at the end I always eat all the sweets, and I think it means quite a lot because, one, they're cool to have in the house because candles are cool, and it reminds us of that there is a light in the world.
Yeah. Wonderful. Can I just quickly ask, do the sweets make it outside the church?
No.
No. Once the candle's blown out, they're eaten, aren't they? Very quickly. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy your Christingle service as well this time round. But yes, the big service, 50 years since the first one here at Lincoln Cathedral, will be held at 5:30 this evening. And at least the weather will be a little bit drier than it is here at the moment. It is chucking it down outside. Some very heavy rain across the UK at the moment. If we take a look out at the forecast, we've got some severe winds to come with us today as well. Some gales potentially, severe gales across parts of Scotland and western half of the UK. 50, 60, 70 mile an hour gusts, maybe 80 across western Scotland, all linked into a deep area of low pressure spreading to the northwest of the UK at the moment. You can see though a tail end of a cold front that's sweeping across England and Wales. That's which is producing the wet start at the moment across southern and eastern parts of England. Some heavy rain now, and certainly lots of surface water and spray after heavy rain through the night. But it's a day in which the winds just get stronger and stronger. Worst of those will be in Scotland, where the showers will merge into longer spells of rain, some blizzards on the hills as well. Frequent showers in western half of the country, heavy with hail and thunder, sunnier towards the east. Temperatures probably highest at the moment, around 12 to 14 degrees. By the afternoon, 7 to 12 Celsius for many. Now into tonight, it is going to stay windy. The winds still touching severe gale force, particularly around the Northern Irish Sea. Northwest England could bear the brunt of those. Showers most frequent here, same to Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, some clearer skies around to take us into the morning, but because the wind's so strong, temperatures are not going to drop away too much. So we're into the weekend now, and it's going to be a lively day as far as winds are concerned, really, on Saturday. Light to the winds will be across northern Scotland later. Elsewhere, very blustery. Sunshine to begin with for many. Showers in the west. Showers become more frequent and widespread into the afternoon, and temperatures on the fresh side at low single figures, or single figures across northern half of the UK, around 12 degrees in the south. Now Saturday night, it's southern half of the UK, particularly southwest England, southwest Wales, where we could see winds top 60 miles an hour or more. They will ease down into Sunday. Lots of sunshine around, a few showers around some coasts in the west and the east, but I said many will have a dry day on Sunday. But the big thing by then, Naga and Charlie, it will be feeling much colder. Temperatures for many will be in single figures, and that will continue into Monday. But just before I hand you back, Charlie and Naga, did you know they're estimating that around 16 million of sweets will be used in these Christingles, this Christingle alone? Back to you both. Can you imagine that?
Do you know, I genuinely, that figure, I'm staggered by that figure. 16 million sweets used in these Christingles. I'd never seen one before today.
What is about 12 in each thing?
Dream. 8 in each one.
You see, I think you've been a bit stingy with your sweets. You've been a bit stingy because we've got 3 on each stick. In ours, you've only got 2.
Yeah, but I'm working with Steve, the cameraman, and he's eaten half of them.
You just shamed Steve on national telly. Well, never mind. He'll be all right. See, look at ours. We've got a good offering here. We've been very disciplined not eating it. More from you later, Matt. Thanks so much.
So, on that Christmas theme, one of the things that we're looking at this morning is what happens to all the paper, and this is obviously it's happening every week, all the time anyway, but around Christmas there's lots of wrapping, lots of cardboard and all those things, and how is it dealt with? Does it get recycled enough?
There is a trick, and Ben's going to tell us how to know if your wrapping paper can be recycled, but lots of people changing the way they're wrapping this year as well. Ben, where are you? That's a big warehouse of wrapping paper.
Good morning. There's all sorts of stuff here. What you're looking at is millions of cardboard boxes. They've all been manufactured from recycled material. They're done right here in Milton Keynes. This is actually the biggest facility in Europe for manufacturing and recycling cardboard boxes. And the reason that's important is, look, we're using much more cardboard these days because there's that push away from using plastic. Of course, we've seen the backlash to using more of this sort of stuff to get things delivered. But also, remember, online deliveries, that's a huge thing that means that we're using much more of those. They create millions of them here and send them out. But the good thing about cardboard is that it's much more efficient. 84% of all the cardboard that we use actually gets recycled, and it's done right here. Let's speak to Isabel, who's one of the bosses here. She's the head of e-commerce. Isabel, morning. What you do here is pretty impressive in so much as a box that I receive in the post, 14
into the business.
And just give me one word on getting the right size box, because we've all had those deliveries, haven't we, where we've ordered something pretty small and it comes in a huge box, but you're trying to change that, aren't you?
Yeah, we are definitely trying to change that with a new technology. That is a right-sized packaging machine called Made to Fit. And what this machine is doing is delivering up to 10 million different box sizes in a speed of 700 boxes an hour. So definitely every single order that will be shipped will have a fill rate of 99%, which is just not what is going on today.
Good luck with that. Big job ahead of you. Isabel, for now, thanks so much. Well, come with me. I want to introduce you to two people who can shed a bit more light on all of this. Martin's our recycling expert this morning, and Claire's our retail expert. Morning to you both. Morning. Claire, I just want to pick up on that thought we had from Isabel there about
with the logistics and transport, but obviously it can mean that tiny products get delivered in apparently oversized boxes, and that's just one of the features of the e-commerce phenomenon that's meant that we're asking for so much to be delivered, and there are only so many box sizes that a retailer can realistically manage.
And also, if they're going to put those in the back of vans, actually having them all the same size is probably quite good, because it means that they can, fill the van more efficiently and all square boxes fit in a square van.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's a bit like a game of Tetris, isn't it? And to maximise the utilisation of a van, in a way, having uniform-sized boxes can actually help. But then, on the other hand, there are instances where really tiny products have been delivered in really huge, completely ridiculously oversized boxes. And that's possibly because the retailers run out of a smaller box and simply felt that rather than let the customer down and deliver late, they'd deliver in an oversized box. So sometimes there could be a good reason. And really, if you're the customer, what would you prefer? An oversized box or a late delivery? I guess you have to weigh up the two.
Yeah, good point, isn't it? Martin, let's talk about all that.
Challenge, isn't it?
Isn't it just? Let's talk about the recycling element of this. So, good news that so much cardboard is recycled, and it's one of your jobs, isn't it, at the council? But talk about, getting it reused when it comes to things like paper and Christmas cards. It's very different, isn't it? It's a lot more complicated. Talk me through that.
Well, first of all, we're all seeing a lot more boxes delivered to our houses. So what's really important is that we don't just chuck them out. We get these stack of cardboard boxes. So one of the things we're encouraging people to do is just crush them down, dismantle them, keep them stacked, and then actually put them back in the recycling. And virtually every council now recycles cardboard and paper. When it comes to other things, and at Christmas obviously there's a lot of things like cards, wrapping paper and so on, we have to be a bit more careful. A lot of that stuff can't be recycled. So, for example, with wrapping paper, it's the old scrunch test. Screw it up. If it springs back, it's probably plastic-based. Just chuck that away. If it doesn't spring back, it's paper, you can recycle it. And on cards, if there's things like glitter on them, if you can scrape the glitter off, fine, but if not, quite frankly, just bin that card. And, you know, things like ribbons and whatever, again, just chuck them away.
The plainer the better.
The plainer the better. Good old brown paper is what we need to bring back.
Martin and Claire, thanks so much. Really nice to see you both. So there's some top tips for you. Look, because we are going to get confused this Christmas. There's so much stuff that we've got to deal with, don't we? But some top tips there for you. And we've also put all of those top tips online. There's a little video explaining what things you can recycle, what things you can't recycle. And as you heard there from Martin, things with glitter, ribbons, any sort of embossed, you know, gold or anything like that on the front of the card, chances are you can't recycle it. But that scrunch test is a good one. If the paper pops back, you can't recycle it. If it stays scrunched up, chances are you probably can. So that's going to be on Twitter, on the BBC Breakfast Facebook page as well. So take a look at that. We'll have more top tips for you, and I'll show you around this absolutely huge warehouse a little later. But before that, let's get the news, the travel and the weather where you are this morning. We'll see you soon.
Good morning from BBC London News. I'm Victoria Hollins. A 28-year-old is suing the Met Police after his name and address appeared on a leaked gangs list. Lawyers for the man, whose name was included on the document in Newham, claim he's been left fearing for his safety after a relative got hold of the information and sent it to him. The Information Commissioner's Office is carrying out an investigation into Newham Council over the alleged breach. Thames Water has reported a large fall in half-year profits and says extreme weather has hindered its ability to fix leaks and overhaul its infrastructure. The company said the cold winter earlier this year had caused pipes to burst, while the summer heatwave had brought supply problems. Pre-tax profits fell by nearly half to £67 million. Well, it's that time of year again. Panto season is well underway and many of us may be looking forward to seeing a show during our time off. But for the actors involved, who only get Christmas Day off, the festive season is just another working week. Robinson Crusoe's the pantomime setting sail at the Greenwich Theatre this year.
Really, Christmas Day is our day off. That's it. So we have because we have 2 shows on Christmas Eve and 2 on Boxing Day. So. And then the same over New Year, so New Year's Day is our only day off. So it's a real, and we do, in those weeks, we do 12 shows a week.
12 shows a week?
Yeah, so 2 a day, 6 days a week. So it's an old slog.
Yes,
yeah.
I bet it is.
Yeah. It's great fun though.
Right, let's have a look at the travel situation. And on the Tube, the Circle line has severe delays. There are also severe delays on the Hammersmith and City line. It's because of a signal problem at Baker Street. There are minor delays on the District line as well and London Overground. Turning to the roads then, it's pretty slow on Waterloo Bridge heading into town towards the Strand, as you can see there. And in Tottenham, White Hart Lane is closed in both directions between Creighton Road and the High Road. That's because of a collision. And that takes us to a check on the day's weather with Mel Coles.
Good morning. It's a soggy start to the day. We've got some heavy rain around at the moment, but that will gradually clear, so the skies will start to brighten up. But it will be a blustery day. Now, at the moment, temperatures are in double figures. And with the rain, there are going to be some heavy bursts in here before it clears out towards the east later this morning to leave brighter skies. It will remain windy throughout the day, and there may be 1 or 2 showers this afternoon, and those temperatures dipping as we head through the day, so a maximum of around 9 Celsius this afternoon. Heading into this evening, well, it's a very similar regime. We keep those winds gusting at around 30 to 35 miles an hour, some dry clear spells, but also 1 or 2 blustery showers in the mix too. And temperatures dipping down to lows of around 5 Celsius. So we're in for a fairly windy weekend, particularly later on Saturday and into Sunday. Through Saturday, some of the showers could merge together to form longer spells of rain. Sunday will start off with a few showers, but it looks as though it will be an improving picture.
Right, I'm back with the latest from the BBC London newsroom in half an hour. There's plenty more on our website at the usual address, bbc.co.uk/London, and we will see you in half an hour. Bye for now.
Will I be big enough for big school? Do you be?
Is it supposed to taste like?
Yes. What does this even do?
Do we have any more shampoo?
Why doesn't he like me? Do you think we'll win? Can I have a magazine?
How fast? What have I missed? Where's my other shoe?
Lasagna. Middlesbrough.
Can I get hair extension?
No.
What is this?
Where's my charger? Why do we have day and night?
You can have all the answers. And for the times you don't,
where's the laptop?
There's BBC Bite Size, the online learning resource.
Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchesi.
Our headlines today. Theresa May sends out 30 ministers across the UK to try to shore up last-minute support for her Brexit deal.
O2 customers are back online, but a review is ordered into the disruption that affected 32 million of its customers.
The boat is destroyed. Inside and out is destroyed.
Waiting to be rescued, the British sailor stranded at sea during a round-the-world race.
Good morning. We're going to get through 300,000 tonnes of cardboard packaging this Christmas. So where does it all come from and, well, where does it end up? I'm at Europe's largest manufacturer and recycling facility here in Milton Keynes this morning to find out.
Good morning. A fresh row over Premier League tackling as it's confirmed that Liverpool defender Joe Gomez has broken his leg.
And in weather, severe gales could bring travel disruption today across parts of Scotland and the western half of the UK. Set to turn colder this weekend. Join me in the gorgeous surroundings of Lincoln Cathedral for all the details and information about Christingle as it marks 50 years since the first service here in the UK.
Good morning, it's Friday the 7th of December. Our top story this morning. At the end of one of the most turbulent weeks of her leadership, Theresa May has sent out 30 of her senior ministers to schools, hospitals and businesses across the UK, all to gather last-minute support for her Brexit deal.
The Prime Minister has just a few days left to convince reluctant MPs to back her withdrawal agreement before a vote on Tuesday. Our political correspondent Jonathan Blake is in Westminster for us this morning. It's interesting you're there because most of the ministers aren't, Jonathan.
That's right, Naga. The Prime Minister has dispatched 30 or so ministers away from Westminster to various corners of the UK in a last-ditch attempt to sell her Brexit deal. The strategy there, as we saw the Prime Minister doing last week, is to go over the heads of MPs, appeal directly to the public, and in the hope that they will then put pressure on members of Parliament to back her deal. It showed little sign of persuading enough people so far, but yes, we'll see the Chancellor visit a school in Chertsey, the Chief Secretary of the Treasury popping to a local butcher's in Norfolk, the Scottish Secretary having a round-table chat with small businesses in Glasgow, all in the hope that the Prime Minister can push through her message that as far as she's concerned, the public want the government to get on with it and get on with Brexit. The trouble for her is there's a big roadblock in the way, and that is the vote in Parliament here at Westminster next Tuesday.
Do you know, Jonathan, lots of people will be questioning. I know you said that the idea is these ministers go out, they do this road trip, members of the public are then convinced, and then they say to their ministers, go for the deal. That's a long-winded approach, isn't it, when it's really the MPs who are going to be voting on Tuesday, and we're already halfway through this 5-day debating period.
It is, but the government is trying literally everything it can at the moment to convince MPs to back the deal, and we've seen that in the activity of the last few days. And what do you do if you're trying to sell something? She can't go any lower on the price. She's throwing in a couple of things for free, and we saw this amendment put forward last night, something which MPs would vote on before the main vote on the deal, and that is to potentially give Parliament more of a say on how, if and when the controversial backstop designed to avoid a hard border with Northern Ireland would come into play. Little though that Parliament do, because it's written in law in the withdrawal agreement that will kick in, or there'll be an extension to the transition. So it's not convincing enough people so far.
Jonathan, thanks very much. Jonathan Blake there for us.
The mobile network O2 has said all of its data services have been restored.
The company said a review will be carried out to discover why 32 million UK customers weren't able to get online yesterday. Our correspondent John Donnison has more.
For many these days, life without a fully functioning smartphone is almost unimaginable. The cameras might have been working at this Christmas market in Manchester, but for 32 million O2 customers, not much else was.
We've not been able to use like Facebook. I don't think we can send messages either on iMessage.
Train times to get a zone.
Yeah. So, just not good, basically.
In London, bus arrival screens, which work off the O2 network, were also out of action. A first world problem, you might say, but also very much one of our time.
It's a digital catastrophe of the 21st century. We are out of internet, out of services, out of our loved ones nearby, out of capacity of payments.
The O2 network, owned by Telefonica, said the problem was a global one and down to equipment supplied by the telecoms firm Ericsson.
We know it's a software issue. It's impacted an Ericsson component, which has impacted networks across the globe, in Japan. In China and of course here in the UK.
O2 says services should be back to normal this morning and that it will be carrying out a review with Ericsson. The question is now being raised as to whether customers might be able to claim compensation. John Donnison, BBC News.
The father of a British tourist who's gone missing in New Zealand has made an emotional appeal for help to find his outgoing, fun-loving daughter. Grace Mullane, who turned 22 on Sunday, hasn't been in contact with her family since the 1st of December. And concerns are growing for her welfare. In a press conference in Auckland, David Mullane urged anyone who may have seen her to get in touch.
Grace is a lovely, outgoing, fun-loving, family-orientated daughter. Grace has never been out of contact for this amount of time. She's usually in daily contact with either her mother, myself, her two brothers, members of the family on social media.
Oxford and Cambridge universities accept more students from just 8 private schools than from almost 3,000 English state schools put together. That's according to research by the social media mobility charity, the Sutton Trust. They say more needs to be done to attract students from a wide range of backgrounds. Oxford University said it's aware it must work harder. Cambridge said more support should be made available to pupils before they choose their A-level subjects.
A rescue mission is underway to reach a British sailor whose boat was destroyed in a storm during a solo round-the-world yacht challenge. 29-year-old Susie Goodall is the only woman taking part in the Golden Globe race. Her location in the Pacific is now so remote that the nearest vessel can't reach her until tonight.
Yes, and we'll be speaking to the race chairman in a few minutes' time just to find out the very latest on that search.
American comedian and actor Kevin Hart says he's stepping down from hosting the 2019 Oscars. This follows controversy over homophobic tweets from 10 years ago. Now, the 39-year-old says he doesn't want to be a distraction and that he was sorry he'd hurt people. It was only announced he'd present the awards on Tuesday of this week.
The body of former US President George Bush Sr. has been laid to rest at his presidential library in College Station, Texas. After days of public tributes, including a state funeral in Washington, the casket travelled on a special train, slowing down through a number of towns along its 70-mile trip. He was buried in a private ceremony beside his wife, Barbara, and daughter, Robin.
The international charity Doctors Without Borders says it's been forced to end migrant rescue operations in the Mediterranean carried out by its ship, the Aquarius. The organisation blamed the decision on what it called a sustained campaign of slander and obstruction by European governments. The Aquarius had been the last charity rescue ship still operating.
The lead singer of the punk band Buzzcocks, Pete Shelley, has died at the age of 63. It's thought he suffered a heart attack in Estonia, where he was living. The band, who formed in the 1970s, are best known for their hit Ever Fallen in Love.
Musicians and fans have been paying tribute to him online. There was a tweet from the official Twitter page for the group describing him as one of the UK's most influential and prolific songwriters. And then the Charlatan singer Tim Burgess said his perfect 3-minute pop songs were the soundtrack to being a teenager.
Also, Peter Hook, co-founder of Joy Division and New Order, described him as a true gent, adding that he wouldn't be where he is today if it weren't for him.
Machine robberies in the UK has nearly doubled in the last 4 years, according to one of the biggest ATM operators.
Cartronics says there were more than 720 attempts to steal cash last year. Less than half were successful. Our personal finance correspondent Simon Gompertz has more.
2 thieves, their faces covered, getting ready to blow up a cash machine using gas. This is the explosion from the inside. The number of raids has been accelerating. There were 400 attacks in 2014. By last year, the annual total was 722, nearly double. In almost half the cases, thieves don't get the cash, but that doesn't stop them trying. In this raid, in a Cotswolds village, a stolen digger was used to smash the local bank's machine. Tougher policing in cities has pushed the ram raiding gangs into the country. Last month, another machine ripped out in South Lanarkshire. The smaller the neighbourhood, the more serious the impact.
ATM crime is not a victimless crime. It's an attack on a local community. It means that people can't get money out of a cash machine. Often you'll find the shop is damaged, which damages that business as well.
There's been a spate of cash machines being blown up using gas and more ram raids. Cardtronics says the UK has more attacks than anywhere else in Europe. It wants harsher sentences and better surveillance. Simon Gompertz, BBC News.
Time now is 10 minutes past 8. We've been hearing that cabinet ministers are going to be travelling up and down the UK today. What are they trying to do? They're trying to shore up last-minute support for Theresa May's Brexit deal. So we're asking now what happens next if the Prime Minister loses next Tuesday's vote. Well, here are the likely scenarios. Theresa May could return to Brussels and try to renegotiate the withdrawal agreement before then taking it back to MPs for a second vote. EU leaders, though, have said this isn't an option. Ministers might push for a second referendum. It wouldn't happen quickly, though. Experts say it could take up to 22 weeks to organise a vote for the public. The Prime Minister could resign. It's more likely, though, that Conservative MPs, unhappy with the deal, will trigger a leadership contest by submitting letters of no confidence in her. Or a motion of no confidence in the government could be put in. And if that passed, it would mean a general election and possibly a new government. There could be a no-deal Brexit. Now, that would mean the UK leaves the EU without any kind of withdrawal agreement and revert to World Trade Organization rules. So a lot could happen, and a lot is happening on the way up to that vote on Tuesday. Let's talk more with Tom Newton-Dunn, who's political editor at The Sun newspaper, who joins us now from Westminster. Tom, it's good to have you with us on the programme.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. So I suppose we should start with what you think about today's strategy by Theresa May, sending out these 30 senior ministers around the country to shore up support for her deal.
It's next to useless, to be brutally honest. Anything that happens outside this year, particularly rainy Westminster bubble, is, I'm afraid to say, a complete waste of time at the moment. 30 ministers, maybe they'll talk to 30 people each. You know, that's under 1,000 people, and remember those 1,000 people don't have a vote in here, which is where the action is what really matters. The debate has moved from the country very much to Westminster, and what the Prime Minister is now involved in is an interscene battle with largely her backbenchers and indeed some of her ministers to try and get enough votes to somehow squeak her deal over the line next Tuesday. I think Number 10 sent ministers around the country just to show they look busy and actually doing something today while this long wait and also the real fight goes on behind the scenes here. What we're really looking at, I think, is a massive game of chicken. And on one side there's Theresa May and the government saying to the rest of the Conservative Party and also every other MP, look, this is the only choice you have. If you don't go for my deal, there is pandemonium. That's why I'm not pulling my vote. I'm going to go ahead with it, and I'm going to dare you to try and push us into pandemonium. On the other side, the backbenchers and also Labour MPs are saying, rubbish, your deal's not worth anything anyway, we'll do better, and we're going to stare you down and try and either defeat you or dare you not to put it. So you've got a rock versus a hard place here, and I have to say no one down here really for weeks has been able to work out where on earth we go. The potential possibilities of what could happen on Tuesday night if this deal is voted down are absolutely endless, and I think you've set out a few there, but
well,
it's a huge game of stakes and analysis.
Yeah, we're trying, just like you, to kind of just try to make it as clear as possible.
Yeah.
So you've spoken about what's been going on behind the scenes, and as this continues, we still know, I think, a definite point now. There was some idea that perhaps Tuesday's vote might be moved, but a definite point on Tuesday. Let's say that's definitely happening.
I think it probably will be.
OK, so once that has actually happened, what are we looking in terms of time? I'm talking minutes, hours, as to what Theresa May does next if, or when we hear what will happen next, if the vote isn't agreed, the deal isn't agreed.
That is absolutely, you've hit upon the most crucial moment for Theresa May's survival. If, or more likely when, the deal is lost on Tuesday night, probably about 8:30 p.m, Theresa May has seconds, not even minutes, to stand up at the dispatch box and seize really what on earth is going to happen to this huge vacuum, a massive vacuum in British politics. What on earth are we going to do? We're supposed to be leaving the EU in almost 3 months' time with no plan at all on the table anymore because it's just been voted down. She has seconds to stand up and say, OK, I've heard the House of Commons, the House of Commons has spoken, I am therefore going to do X, Y or Z. If she doesn't fill that vacuum with whatever her plan B is, which she hasn't told even anyone in the cabinet yet, let alone anyone else in number 10, good chance there still is not much of a plan B, then others will fill that for her. And I think things will then start to move extremely quickly. My bet is the Conservative Party at that moment pretty much splits between one side who want a softer Brexit, a sort of an EEA, Norway type option, and another side who want to bluff out the EU and potentially go for no deal if the EU doesn't give them better terms. So it will get very messy very, very quickly.
And Tom, I know you're not the expert, the be-all expert on, the machinations of Parliament, but what does that mean for us, everyday people who are trying to then figure out whether a Brexit is going to happen? What happens to us then?
Well, the reason why we're all standing here getting very excited and worried about what's going to happen next week is because very soon there will be immense ramifications for people in the country. If there is no apparent way of leaving the EU because Theresa May's deal has been voted down, the first thing will happen, I think the markets will take considerable fright, although a lot of that's probably already been priced in. The chaos we're seeing has been taken account for. You saw the FTSE move pretty heavily yesterday, but the pound will probably go down quite a bit overnight. So obviously if you're going to be travelling abroad, then your euros or your dollars or wherever you're going are going to be a lot more expensive. You'll get less for your pound. But then other no-deal preparations will have to then start kicking in, because the government, despite the fact they'll all be working and fighting each other to work out what's going next, they'll also have it to be preparing for a real no-deal taking place before Parliament can work out what to do next. So all sorts of things, hauliers will have to apply for new permits, your pet will have to get tagged, every single possible thing you can imagine that could come as a consequence of all the barriers, customs and trade barriers going up with the EU, will start taking place, stockpiling, etc. And I think people will start to notice that reasonably quickly.
Tom, so let's bring it back to the present then, because it's really easy, isn't it, to hypothesise and predict what might happen. Let's bring it back to the present. So we've got 3 more days, really, after today. We've got the weekend, Monday and Tuesday, up to this vote. Who's Theresa May going to be relying on? Who's she going to be saying, I need your support on this, I need you to have conversations with so-and-so about this? How's that all going to be working now?
So the government, namely in the auspices of the Chief Whip, who's her chief disciplinarian, has a long list of Tory MPs who he desperately needs to now get on side. And also, of course, the 10 DUP MPs, who really do seem completely lost now, although they'll still be making some sort of phantom effort. But it's really a case of trying to win as many backbench Tory Eurosceptics, perhaps, but also former Remain voters, people like Johnny Mercer, who said he would oppose the motion in the Commons yesterday, trying to persuade them over to what I think will probably end up happening, which is trying to get the level of defeat down. I think Number 10 are pretty confident that they won't win this on Tuesday night, but if they can get the margin of defeat down to maybe 20 or 30, even 50, then it doesn't look too bad to the sort of 100, 200 figures that have been floating around. If you only are narrowly defeated, Theresa May can then go back to Brussels at the European Council on Thursday and Friday next week and say, look, Parliament has spoken, I need more from you, and whatever it is, just give me something. The EU, in my view, will probably give her very little indeed. She can then come back to the House of Commons the week after next and say, look, you voted this down, I've tried, they've given me nothing, we're going to have one more vote on this, and now that you know there is no renegotiation to be done, apart from the small things I just won off them, this really is it. It's my deal or nothing. And some Tory MPs I've spoken to have said they'll vote against the deal first time round, but they may come aboard the second time round if it can be proved that there really is no more negotiation to be done. So I suspect that will be the Number 10 strategy. I have no idea if it's going to work. I suspect it probably won't.
Tom, it's been really interesting anyway, talking to you, thinking about what's happening next and what's happening at the moment. Tom Newton-Dunn, political editor of The Sun newspaper, joining us from Westminster.
Thank you.
Time now is 19 minutes past 8. If you wanted somewhere to get away from the madness that is going on around Brexit, you might head for Lincoln Cathedral, which is where Matt is this morning for us. Calm, amazing surroundings there. Morning to you, Matt.
It is. Good morning, Charlie. Yeah, beautiful surroundings here at Lincoln Cathedral. We're talking Christingle today, a Moravian tradition brought to the Church of England on behalf of the Children's Society 50 years ago today. Making their own Christingles at the moment. We have some children here. This is Evangelina. What bit are you doing at the moment?
I'm just fitting the sweets in my orange.
Just fitting all the sweets in. They represent God's creations, don't they? Yeah. Right, and of course, sweets are the important bit for some. I think Sam. What's your favourite bit?
It's when I put my sweets into them.
Do you eat the sweets before you've even left church?
I eat.
Be honest.
I eat them after I finish my Christingle.
Oh, well done, well done. Anyway, keep up with good work there. They're working away on their oranges and their Christingles. But it's a lovely start to the day here inside the church. Beautiful. And we've got the church choir, the cathedral choir behind us as well. But weather-wise, not quite so calm, because let's just take a look at the forecast. Severe gales today across parts of Scotland and western half of the UK especially. 70, maybe 80 mile-an-hour gusts in the west of Scotland already, and that could cause some travel disruption. Already is doing so on the ferries too. We've also got lots of heavy rain tied in with the weather front, which wraps around the area of low pressure to the northwest of the UK, which is going to bring the strong winds. The weather front, the cold front pushing across England at the moment. Lots of heavy rain around. It's left a lot of surface water and spray on the roads. That rain will clear over the next few hours though from the southeast, and then the rest of the day sunshine and showers. Showers most frequent in the west, heavy with hail and thunder, although some longer spells of rain in parts of Scotland, with some blizzards on the hills as those winds continue to pick up through the day. As I said, 70, 80 mile-an-hour gusts possible. Highs at the moment around 13 or 14 degrees. They will gradually drop away through the day, so by the afternoon around 8 to 12 Celsius for many. Now it stays windy into tonight, a mixture of clear spells and showers. Showers mainly in the west, and more especially across northwest England and Northern Ireland, where we continue to see severe gales with winds touching 60 miles an hour. And because we've got the winds blowing quite strongly all night, temperatures shouldn't drop away too much. But a chilly start to Saturday morning, brightest across eastern areas, a few showers to begin with in the west, particularly wet parts of northwest England. But the showers just get going and become more frequent and widespread through the day. Winds lightest by the end of the afternoon in northern Scotland, but strong winds across the south, and a fresh feeling day for all. And through Saturday night, we'll see the strongest of the winds southwestern England, southwest Wales. Could be some travel disruption here to take us into Sunday. Most of the rain clears, lots of sunshine on Sunday, a few showers around the coast, but winds in a more northerly direction by this stage, whipping up some high seas across the North Sea coast. And it's going to drop the temperature as well. A chilly feel on Sunday, and temperatures for many single figures, and that will continue into next week. So that's how your weather is looking, pretty lively. But let's finish with something calmer with the Lincoln Cathedral Choir. Enjoy your day.
Moment of peace for us this morning. Have more from Matt later.
Let's see, the time now is 8:22. A British sailor is awaiting rescue from the middle of the ocean after a yacht was destroyed halfway through a solo round-the-world race.
Susie Goodall is adrift in the Pacific after a huge storm flipped her boat over and ripped the mast off. It's left her stranded 2,000 miles west of Chile.
So what we know is that a cargo ship is en route to her, but it's unlikely to get there until later in the day today. Let's speak now to Don McIntyre, who's founder of the 2018 Golden Globe race, joining us from the race's headquarters in France. Thank you very much for your time this morning. I just wonder, first of all, if you could update us on what the situation is in relation to the rescue.
Well, timelines have been delayed because of the bad weather, with the ship heading from the north down towards Susie. It could be anywhere around 7 to 9 o'clock this afternoon or early evening. Conditions have moderated. Susie's reporting the seas are down to about 5 metres, and the ship's captain has confirmed that he doubts he will be able to launch the small boat to pick up Susie. That will mean that she will have to somehow get from the yacht or the life raft. She may have to launch the life raft and be picked up on that and lifted onto the deck of a 40,000-tonne ship that's about 190 metres long.
So, Don, tell us a little bit more about how Susie is right now. The seas you described, I think 5 metres there. For those of us who are not familiar with the ocean, I mean, it sounds like she's still in quite a perilous situation. Just describe what situation she's in.
Okay, she's safe at the moment. The boat's still secure. It's taking a little bit of water, but it's easy to pump that out. She's managed to get some rest again overnight. The inside of the boat's trashed, and all her safety and survival gear is secure. She's got everything she needs. We're in good satellite communications with her, but it's still a perilous situation in that, you know, there's challenges ahead with the rescue. She's focused. and she knows that it's not going to be easy. She's a bit seasick, amazingly, because the motion of the boat is really tough, you know, with no mast. It whips around, and she has got cut hands. So, yeah, she's in an interesting situation, but she's a tough girl, that's for sure.
Yes, and we're just seeing some of the pictures from some parts of the race. Now, I know from her own accounts of what happened, she said she was thrown across the cabin and knocked out for a while. What do you know about any injuries she may have sustained?
Yeah, she was concussed. She didn't know for how long. She thought it was a short time. That had some concerns for us, later on, because she had some pounding headaches. But she managed to get in contact with our 24-hour telemedicine doctors at MSOS, and they're happy with the situation. So now she can't keep any fluids down. She can't eat anything. But that's a case of the seasickness. Her hands are cut up a bit because she had to cut the mast and rigging away very quickly before it punched a hole in the hull. When she came to from her concussion, there was a lot of water in the boat. She thought immediately she might be sinking, but fortunately that's not the case. She's managed to clear the boat.
I'm just curious, people listening to your account of how she is, talking about those worries about concussion, they'll be thinking, how is it okay that it's taking so long to get help to her? Is there, I mean, this may be an obvious question, but is there any other means of getting to her quicker, given those concerns about her health?
Well, basically, she's 2,000 miles west of Cape Horn, in the middle of nowhere. It's about as far as you can get from anywhere, very close to what's called Point Nemo, which is the furthest place from land anywhere on the Earth. And unfortunately, we didn't have any other entrants, other sailors in the race that were close by that could get there quicker. And the Chile Rescue Coordination Centre is managing the situation. They're doing a fantastic job. And we're fortunate that there was a ship that was just a few hundred miles away and, trying to make there as soon as possible. But I've got to say, she is safe at the moment. She's secure on the boat. We're not concerned for her health right now. She's got some physical challenges to get up the side of this ship and onto the ship. So, we're all hoping for the best, and we'll be monitoring the situation closely. She's preparing herself and all her equipment. She may have to launch the life raft yet and get in the life raft and use that as a means of then transferring onto the ship. It's a very fluid situation.
Don McIntyre, thank you very much for your time this morning. That's Don McIntyre, who's race chairman of the 2018 Golden Globe race. Just bring us right up to date, the situation with Susie Goodall. Rescue not, they say, for another sort of till 8 or 9 tonight.
Wish her well, of course. It's time to get the news, travel and weather where you are this morning. We'll see you soon.
Up next on the BBC News Channel, a look at what's happening in the world of global business with Business Live. And in half an hour, it's the news at 9 with all the latest stories.
Hello there, good morning. We're in for some very windy conditions today, potentially disruptive conditions across northern parts of the UK. We've also got some heavy rain this morning, and that rain is moving its way south and eastward, clearing away, giving some sunny spells and blustery showers for many into the afternoon. But it's the winds across the northern part of Northern Ireland and into the west of Scotland where we could see gusts of 70, perhaps even 80 miles an hour, but quite widely across Scotland, those wind gusts of about 50 to 65 miles an hour. And heavy rain continuing across the north and the west of Scotland as well. Some hill snow to come here as well. But elsewhere, there will be some sunny spells, blustery showers, which will be heavy, perhaps even thundery as well. Temperatures are going to drop down as the day goes on, so by this afternoon about 7 to 10 degrees Celsius. But watch out for those winds in northern areas, really could well cause some problems. Over the weekend it stays windy, showers on Saturday, drier and chillier by Sunday. Bye-bye.
Is the government in Burundi torturing and killing to silence dissent?
When I was inside, I was like someone who is already dead. I did not think I would ever get out.
Our World, Burundi's Torture Houses. Tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. on the BBC News Channel.
Whoa, we're off already. Hello and welcome to Business Live with Victoria Fritz and Mariam Mishiri.
China's Huawei vows its spiritual despite the arrest of one of its top executives at the US's request.
Live going to work. It is live from London. Stay with us. It's Friday. It's going to be a great show. It's the 7th of December. Oh, it's all to play for, isn't it, today? It's a very exciting show. We're not quite sure what's going to happen next. And neither does the top executive, the financial advisor, financial officer, shall we say, of Huawei, who is due to be in a bail hearing today in Vancouver. Lots more coming up on that story. Also, we're going to be talking about OPEC. Will they or won't they agree a deal today? And we've got some markets for you as well. We've seen a little bit of a boost. European stocks starting on a firmer end to the week after suffering their worst sell-off since June 2016 on Thursday.
Victoria's clearly been pressing the wrong buttons again. Now we'll be getting grips as well with what's troubling global markets and asking if the euro can ever really be the world's leading currency. All that coming up with our economics correspondent Darshini David. Also, we've been talking to you on Twitter as Australia passes a controversial law to make tech companies share encrypted messages with police. We're asking if this is a good thing or should we be concerned about governments invading our privacy. Let us know. Just use the hashtag #BBCBizLive.
Hello and welcome to Business Live, the Friday fun-filled edition. Let's talk Vancouver in the Western Canadian city because it's going to be the set of the real stage of global attention in just a few hours' time. It's where the chief financial officer of China's top tech firm Huawei is expected to ask a court to grant her bail. Meng Wanzhou is the daughter of Huawei's founder and president. She was arrested on Saturday at the request of US authorities who are believed to want her extradited over alleged violation of sanctions against Iran. Now, the move has sparked outrage in China and rattled the global markets, with investors fearing it signals a dangerous new phase in the trade war between the two economic superpowers. And now there are reports that Japan's government is also considering a ban on Huawei products.
Victoria, thank you very much indeed. Let's talk now to Karishma Vaswani in our Asia Business Hub. Karishma, what exactly was Huawei's response to all of this in the letter?
Well, Mariam, Huawei issued a letter to its suppliers basically saying, look, it's business as usual, there's nothing to worry about. And in a rather stronger use of language, actually, in comparison to what we've seen when the arrest first happened, where they said they had very little information from the US government. What they said in the letter, and I've got a copy of it with me here, is that we believe it is unreasonable of the US government to use these sorts of approaches to exert pressure on a business entity. And now, you know, Mariam, borrowing from President Trump's vocabulary about the China trade war, they say these actions are against the spirit of free economy and fair competition. Where have we heard those words before? So certainly a much stronger response from Huawei with regards to the arrest of their CFO and also the daughter of the founding father of the company. You know, one analyst described Huawei to me as the crown jewel of Chinese tech. And if that's true, then Miss Meng is definitely its princess.
What are Canada saying about all this? Because they've been accused of being political about it, accusations they're denying.
Yes, absolutely, and they've been quite categorical to say that, look, you know, this is not a political issue, they're just following the rules and regulations. I don't think China necessarily sees it that way, too, though you've got lots of comments coming out of Chinese commentators, Chinese state media, and an opinion piece in the Global Times, in fact, many viewing this as an attack not just on Huawei, but on China's ambitions on the global stage. And you've got to understand, I can't overstate the symbolism and significance of this, because on the very day that President Xi and President Trump were sitting down over dinner of a grilled sirloin and caramel pancakes to discuss at the G20 how to solve the trade war, it has been revealed, we understand, that that was the same day that Ms. Meng was arrested in Vancouver. So a lot of people in China right now asking, why has this happened at this very critical and sensitive juncture in the trade war? We're in that 90-day negotiation period, and many people there are seeing it as an attack.
OK, Karishma, thank you very much indeed. Grilled sirloin, caramel pancakes, what do you think?
Sounds good. For breakfast.
Yes, exactly.
Let's talk about the oil price, shall we? Because the price of oil, it does continue to fall as the oil exporting group OPEC and its allies, including Russia, continue to just ponder whether or not they should cut production at their meeting in Vienna.
Yes, any move will be announced later today. But the question is now, how big will it be?
Brent crude, it's the main benchmark, of course, for oil prices. It's lost, as you can see there, almost a third of its value since this year's peak of $86 a barrel about 2 months ago.
The world's biggest producers, Russia and the USA and Saudi Arabia, are all churning out a record number of barrels per day. And Saudi Arabia wants to see production cut by around 1 million barrels a day. But it needs to get non-OPEC member Russia to play its part.
But a slowing global economy is cutting demand. Just 2 weeks ago, the OECD became the latest international body to cut its growth forecast for next year, saying it expects growth of just 3.5% next year.
Let's talk now to Nick Coleman. He's Senior Oil Analyst at S&P Global Platts. So lovely to have you on the programme, Nick. First of all, how difficult is this balancing act for OPEC? On the one side, it has to, do its best for oil-producing nations, keep prices higher. On the other hand, it's got America piling on the pressure about ramping up production.
Right. And if actually oil prices get very high, then that can only encourage the US shale industry, which is not really what OPEC really wants to do. So America has become the world's largest crude oil producer, actually, in the last few months. So it really is a balancing act for them, and they have lots of internal problems within OPEC, dissension. The Libyan oil minister, for example, has already gone home. The Iranians are suffering badly from sanctions. They're producing much less oil. They'd really like a much higher oil price. The Saudis are kind of trying to balance all of these conflicting interests.
It sounds like a family at Christmas, doesn't it? All these warring factions, a lot of infighting going on. But how relevant is OPEC these days when you've got the likes of the US and Russia almost equaling Saudi in terms of output?
Right. Well, it was the key to an agreement in 2016 where OPEC agreed to coordinate with Russia for the first time. This is quite a geopolitical change because these historically have not been great friends of the Saudis and the Russians. So between the two of them, Russia, Saudi and a few other countries, they're more than a third of the global oil market. So it's hugely important.
What's your prediction in terms of production cuts and what the Saudis are really going to get at everyone else?
I mean, it's been a very chaotic meeting, frankly, one of the most contentious we've seen already. The Russians are quite reluctant to cut, but they'll probably make some gesture. But they haven't been terribly keen on cutting themselves. So it's very hard to say what's going to happen. I think Mr. Zanganeh, who is the Iranian oil minister, he described the talks yesterday as very difficult. And Mr. Falih, who is the Saudi energy minister, he said he was not confident about an agreement today. So it's all to play for.
Now, I mean, we have at this stage in the morning a very big audience in the UK, across Europe and also in India, for example. These aren't countries that are big oil exporters in the same way as, Russia, for example. You have lived in Kazakhstan, you've lived in Russia. What is it like to live in a country like that where they are as reliant as they are on the petrochemical dollar? Okay.
Well, Saudi Arabia is perhaps, the epitome of countries that rely on oil because the economy is not terribly diversified despite their ambitions to become a more diversified economy. Then Russia, you have people, oil is hugely important for Russia as, it produces 11 million barrels a day. That's a huge amount. That's, more than 10% of the global oil market. So people like Igor Sechin is perhaps less well known than the president of the country, but he is the head of the Rosneft oil company, the national oil company, and he has huge political power within Russia.
Okay. Nick Coleman, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Nick. Let's take a look at some of the other stories making the news today. And the budget fashion chain Primark has warned that trading has been challenging in the run-up to Christmas, though it says it still expects an increase in profits this year. However, shares in its parent company, AB Foods, have fallen in London this morning. The statement will be seen as a warning to bricks and mortar retailers ahead of the holiday season.
One of Australia's top legal bodies has criticised a new law that allows the security agencies access to encrypted communications as having unintended consequences and overreach. Big tech companies such as Apple, Google and Facebook say the law, which was rushed through Parliament on Thursday, weakens data security and privacy. But the government says warrants are required and it will help tackle militant threats and organised crime. And Fiat Chrysler Automobiles is reportedly planning to open an assembly plant in Detroit, according to US media. The plant would start producing its Jeep sports utility vehicles in 2020 and create up to 400 jobs. The US-Italian carmaker has not confirmed those plans.
Let's have a look at the markets. And China's main equity market indexes, well, they ended flat and pretty thin trade, actually. Trading volumes were down by about a third. Investors remain pretty cautious after the arrest of that top exec over at Huawei, and that sparked a global sell-off. After the furious selling of the past few days, there was a little bit of optimism after a report said that the Federal Reserve could slow down its pace of interest rate hikes next year, and that's provided some much-needed relief to under-pressure dealers. Now, the general mood in lots of trading rooms across the world, just days after the euphoria, of course, of Donald Trump's tariff ceasefire with Xi Jinping at that G20 summit. Perhaps a bit of a change of sentiment at the moment. Stock markets very much floating, treading water, trying to work out what we might hear in terms of the trade war between the US and China. Let's hear from Michelle Fleury about what's ahead on Wall Street today.
If you've tuned into any market commentary this week, you'll know that for all the strength of the US economy, some investors have already begun to fret about the timing of the next recession. Well, Friday should provide everyone with a timely reminder that for now anyway, the good times are still rolling. That's because the unemployment report for November is released an hour before the markets open. It's expected to show that the US economy added another 250,000 jobs in the past month. That's right, 250,000 new jobs in 1 month. And the unemployment rate is likely to register at the very low rate of 3.7%. With such strong jobs growth, it might be hard to believe that investors really do worry about recession. But stock markets reflect investor forecasts for future, not their satisfaction with the present. And many of them clearly now suspect the only way is down.
It's Michelle there in New York. Well, Richard Hunter is here in London with us. He's head of markets at Interactive Investor. Richard, it's been one of those weeks. How are people in the city taking it? What's kind of the talk on the street, so to speak?
Well, in some ways, we're kind of getting used to it for the FTSE 100. Even after this morning's 1.2% pop, we were down 3.5% yesterday again. We're down around 12% in the year to date. Which is a fairly significant decline. Much of that, of course, has been around the B word, around Brexit, and the fact that many institutional international investors are simply seeing the UK as uninvestable at the moment. So there could be that could be one index and one set of stocks to watch next year in terms of recovery, because it's been so battened down this year, which is quite ironic, given, of course, as we often talk about, the fact that the FTSE 100 is so internationally focused. In terms of the US, the question now is, it still looks as though we're going to get a hike in December. Only a few weeks ago, the expectation was 3, maybe 4 rate hikes next year in the States. That's gone down to 1, maybe even less than 1. So, for example, we're going to see the non-farm payrolls in the States later, should give us another indication of how the US economy is doing.
Just onto those jobs numbers coming out from the States a little bit later, what do you think it would take for the Fed to stop hiking interest rates? I mean, how much does the jobs market really need to cool?
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectation for today is about 200,000 new jobs. It was 250 last month. If you get a weak print today, that's the kind of thing that's going to be setting alarm bells off. I think the Fed might have given us a clue if it was going to be a particularly weak number today. That being said, of course, there's still concerns around the housing market and the general slowing down of the US economy. So it's one of those, obviously it comes out on a monthly basis, but it's going to be of particular focus today.
OK, Richard, you'll be back in a few minutes to talk through the papers with us, so do stay with us.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Still to come, will the euro ever replace the US dollar as the world's currency of choice? We're going to be discussing that and the big stories of the week with our economics correspondent Darshini David.
You're with Business Live on BBC News. The amount of cardboard packaging thrown away in the UK has risen by 1 million tonnes in the last 5 years, with online shopping and the war on plastic waste driving huge demand for the material.
As Christmas, of course, approaches, Ben Thompson has ventured out to Europe's largest cardboard and paper recycler to see one solution to all this waste.
We sent you to all the best places, Ben.
All the glamorous locations, right, girls? Yeah, morning, welcome to Milton Keynes. Look, this is what we're talking about. Cardboard boxes. These are the sort of things that you're going to get all your Christmas online deliveries sent in, and they make them here. Millions and millions, 15 billion they either recycle or manufacture here every single year. And it's really important because cardboard is pretty efficient. 84% of all the cardboard we use actually gets reused, so it's good news if the retailers get it right. But there's so many stories, aren't there, of retailers sending us the tiniest of items in huge boxes. So why is that still going on, and is anything going to change? With me is Claire Bailey, who's a retail expert. Claire, morning to you. Look, let's talk about it. The retailers have to get this right, don't they? But also, you know, there's so many occasions when things arrive damaged, they arrive, you know, badly labelled. Getting it right for the retailers is really important.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously nobody wants to receive a tiny item in a huge box, but I think